All right. Well, we must now venture down to Southern California. It is the man of the hour on the actual field, Shohei Ohtani. You can see the tweet here from the Dodgers last night, 9:45 p.m. Not to be outdone by the Giants, Nika.
No, of course not.
The Giants, of course, they make the big trade yesterday, and then the Dodgers say,
Hold my beer.
hold my beer. It's time for Shohei Ohtani to do the second part of his job, which is pitching.
Oh,
He, of course, has been doing the DHing just fine in LA with the Dodgers since he joined them last year. But he has yet to take the mound, and that will all change tonight in Chavez Ravine at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, California, Hollywood, the city of magic. It's all going down, and I expect this to be a lively event. I think the fans might even show up on time at Dodger Stadium tonight, Nika.
we see.
Well, the traffic is going to be bad, that's for sure. And if you are walking, bring your hiking shoes. It's a long walk to the top, but it will be worth it. I'm sure it'll be a fun time and a fun game to be at, especially if you didn't even know 24 hours before the game started that this was going to be happening. So it's all sudden. It's all happening. It's all last minute.
At least that's what is being portrayed as a last minute, because I think this was planned.
Okay. Yeah. I wonder, because tonight's opponent is the San Diego Padres, and we, of course, know the last time the Padres were at Dodger Stadium was in the middle of the NLDS playoff series last year, and it was pretty animated. It was a pretty hostile environment.
Oh, yeah.
And
Please don't throw bottles at the players.
yeah,
That's tacky.
that was bad. That was bad. And we've also seen the LA and San Diego soccer fans have a little brouhaha in the stands this year. So there are some hostilities between the cities, between the fans, between the
Rivalry.
teams. This is a real rivalry, Max Muncy.
Hello.
I am not wearing Dodger blue for the Dodgers, by the way. This was my SmackDown reaction headband. I am Friar Gold.
Thanks for clarifying.
The last time the Padres faced Ohtani, by the way, they put up 5 runs on 7 hits, including a Xander Bogaerts home run. Will history repeat itself? Padres fans sure as hell hope so. That would be a sight for sore eyes. Am I right?
All right.
All right. Well, let's flip it over to this article. Shohei Ohtani to make Dodgers pitching debut tonight. Watch for free on MLB.tv, Nika.
Nice.
That's going down at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and we will be watching. Definitely. It is Dodgers Padres, of course. Think about that first at bat. Tatis taking the
Oh, my
batter's box
goodness.
against Ohtani. I mean,
I hope they bring their bats.
I don't think we've seen this matchup since like the 2021 or 2022 All-Star game. And Ohtani started the game, and Tatis was batting in the top 3, so he hit against him once. Then I don't think not a lot of these guys have faced Ohtani. So
I know. We see how it goes.
we will. Okay.
Okay, at least he's a righty.
Well, let's get into this article by Sonia Chen.
Okay.
It says, the day that the Dodgers have been waiting for since they signed Shohei Ohtani to a then record contract is nearly here. Ohtani's first start as a pitcher in a Dodgers uniform is set for Monday night against the Padres. The game will be broadcast free on MLB.tv at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, as we just said. Quote, the live, simulated, or whatever sort of ran its course, manager Dave Roberts said after Sunday's 5-4 win over the Giants. He's ready to make his debut on the mound, end quote. I think we've seen Ohtani doing this live batting practice in the bullpens, and, obviously we discussed this before that he would not be going on a rehab assignment of any kind because he's got a DH and he's got another job with the team, and they can't just afford to lose him while he goes down to the minors for a couple weeks to rehab and get stretched out as a pitcher. So, yeah, not a surprise that this kind of just happened out of the blue. I am surprised that it's not after the All-Star break. I thought they would use that clean break to kind of reshift and realign the schedule, the priority. Like, it's a big change to just undertake in the middle of June.
I am with you on that. And Dave Roberts wasn't really forthcoming about when Shohei will start. It was all over the place.
It was end of May when the spring training was going. And then shortly after the season began, I want to say it was like mid to early April, he mentioned that maybe the All-Star break, like we just talked about. So I was kind of operating under that assumption. And then You started to hear whispers the last couple weeks that it was going to maybe be before then. And of course, the Dodgers' starting pitching rotation has been heavily injured with Tyler Glasnow, with Blake Snell, and now we hear Roki Sasaki is like shut down and not throwing at all and may not pitch again this year, according to the latest reports.
Or rumors?
All he's doing, according to Dave Roberts, is working out in the weight room.
Oh, so they try to bulk him up.
I don't know if it just sounds like more and more like he wasn't ready for all this, like
So
a
why
lot of
wa-
people said. And it's a little bit nauseating how much of a big deal was made about a whole lot of nothing, it looks like, so far. I'm not saying that the kid's not going to be talented or be worth
No,
it someday,
but he might have not been ready for majors.
well, he might have belonged in the minor leagues right now.
Yeah.
And if he was in the minor leagues, then there was no reason for him to leave Japan.
Yeah.
That's what we're really getting at. And this was all rushed and forced, and it makes you feel like Yamamoto and Ohtani had a little bit of something to do with that.
Yeah.
There was the report in November or whatever where the guy was like, oh, he's going to the Dodgers. We all know it.
Yeah.
And
In
it was his
November,
teammate, right?
yeah.
It was his teammate in the, I forget
Anyway,
the
yeah.
team name. Okay. Ohtani is not built up to make full starts, but the Dodgers feel confident using him as a multi-inning opener. There's a possibility that he only goes one inning in his first time out, Roberts said. But with the team regularly using bullpen games anyway, anything that Ohtani can contribute is an added benefit.
Or why don't you just take responsibility for messing up your whole two pitching staffs?
There's a lot to unpack here, but yeah, let's look at tonight as a lot of hoopla and probably a whole lot of nothing after that. I would not be surprised at all if Ohtani just pitches one inning tonight.
Yeah.
We might do a prediction of his stat line again at the end of this whole conversation, but I just wouldn't be shocked. He's saying it out loud right there. And this is like spring training start number one for him, you know, and because they do bullpen games on the regular, like you heard the manager just admit, well, they're already set up to kind of do this anyway. And they can use these games that Ohtani starts and builds up. Probably he might go 2 innings next time, 3 innings, and yada, yada, yada. You get it. All right. Well, if we keep reading here, it says, if it seems like Ohtani's slow and steady buildup as a pitcher has accelerated in a hurry in recent weeks, that's because it has. Well, we mentioned that. We talked about the awkward. It was supposed to be after the All-Star break, and he faced hitters for the first time on May 25th at Citi Field, just 22 days before he's set to take the mound in the big leagues for the first time since August 23rd, 2023. It's been a while.
It's been.
That previous start came about a month before he underwent a procedure to repair his right ulnar collateral ligament. That is the UCL, that is the Tommy John, that is the one. It was his second major surgery on his right elbow. He also had surgery this past offseason on his left shoulder, which has led the Dodgers to approach his progression as a pitcher with added caution. So, of course, he had that injury, I think, in the playoffs last year and had the surgery after the World Series. And he did have to do another rehab on a totally different muscle. You know, obviously he's right-handed, so he's not using his right shoulder to pitch. But I would argue he does experience motion there. So I'm sure it hindered his rehab for his Tommy John and his pitching. Nevertheless, Shohei Ohtani is a beast, and he definitely works with some of the best trainers and doctors in the world. And so I'm sure everything is fine with him. There's a lot of interesting stuff in this article. Let's keep going. The Dodgers said all along that once Ohtani began facing hitters, they would have a better idea of his timeline. Once he began throwing live sessions, the team realized that the effort he was expending as he built up was getting close to game-level intensity. I guess that's going to be true of everything in life, but you're not going to know until you see it with your own 2 eyes. And
of course.
So once he started throwing here, I think obviously everyone likes what they're seeing, and I still just don't know if Ohtani is pushing for this because he sees the team and the position that the team is in and that they need help with starting pitching right now, probably more than anything else on the whole team. I mean, scoring runs is not a problem. You know, the bullpen has enough health right now between Michael Kopech and Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates. They have enough health there to get, but they don't have the starters.
They do not.
All the money they spent on Snell, you know, Glasnow, Sasaki, all that they were counting on is not there. And oh, by the way, Gonsolin is
That's
having Tommy John. So
next victim, yes.
all right. Well, the roster flexibility from Ohtani's two-way player status is another factor that makes this plan possible. We've had a lot of conversations on this, and this is one thing that's good for the game is him pitching as soon as possible because the Dodgers have been carrying that extra player for a long time. The Dodgers will be able to roll out a six-man rotation without being down an arm in the bullpen because Ohtani does not count against the team's designated 13 roster spots for pitchers. So at this point in his buildup, the Dodgers figured, why not use him in a game? It's like we said, they already have this whole bullpen game philosophy built into their team's organization. And they had it all the way since the playoffs last year. They used it against the Padres, but it didn't stop there. They used it against the Mets. They used it against the Yankees in the actual World Series. So they've been having a lot of these situations in the past. I'm not surprised at all that they've now kind of resorted to this to bring Ohtani back. It makes a lot of sense, actually. Let's get into this interesting stuff from Roberts here. He says, quote, I think it's more driven by the fact that it doesn't necessarily need to be a typical starting pitcher ramp up. Then, to potentially keep running this process out, to have him taxed for a game where he feels that he's equipped to go an inning or two, and then continue to build up from there right now, in that sense, not surprising. But yeah, a week ago, we were talking about another live and potentially getting to 4 innings, things like that. But the conversations, the confidence that he has, it's time to go, end quote. Okay. So this all leads me to believe that this is being ramped up. And I don't know who's driving the agenda, but I would say it's Ohtani. I think he's the one just saying, like, why don't we just get in there and pitch? And I don't know who anyone is to argue with him, right, about it. You know, it's all about how he feels. And
sure, but you will have to go out and see how you really feel when you start pitching, actually pitching. The simulated games don't count. They're not the same.
No, it is not the same. And we will see tonight when that first inning goes down, like how sharp he is. Yeah. For real. For much of Ohtani's in-season buildup, it has seemed likely that his first appearance as a pitcher would not come until after the All-Star break, as we mentioned.
Yep.
It wasn't until last Tuesday in San Diego, after Ohtani upped his workload to 3 innings and 44 pitches in his third live session, that Roberts said there was a, quote, north of 0 chance that the superstar could pitch in a game before then. Okay, so what, he increased it from like 3% to 100% in like 6 days. Like I just don't buy that they didn't have this opening date against the Padres circled, but we'll talk about that in a second. Speaking through interpreter Will Ireton on Saturday night, not long after hitting his 250th career home run. Congratulations, by the way, Ohtani. That's awesome. Yeah. Ohtani said that the, quote, intensity was there and his stuff felt, quote, game ready in his previous live session. While returning to his two-way duties takes more of a toll on his body, it's not something that's new to him. This quote is really interesting, and this is why I wanted to read this whole article, because this is through the interpreter. But he said, quote, I do feel like just being the two-way player I used to be is the norm, he said. Last year was the abnormal year for me, and it's about getting back to what I used to do. And this just goes part to what Shohei Ohtani's identity is and why I love him and respect him so much as a baseball player is because he has that Jordan gene that we've talked about a little bit that we wish Fernando had a little bit of, which is he realizes that people are there to watch him be Shohei Ohtani. And in order to be Shohei Ohtani, he has to pitch as well as hit the 50 home runs and all the other amazing things.
Well, maybe not necessarily 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases because like he says, it was an abnormal year for him.
It was.
So to normalize it, he has to do both jobs.
I mean, he's setting the benchmark because he's already got 25 this year. So it's not me, Pookie. It's him.
No. I know. I just don't think he's going to have the stolen bases.
Whether he hits 50 or 40, I mean,
it's still great.
It's still monstrous numbers
if
you're pitching as well. Yeah, we'll be curious. I think he will not be fully ramped up until after the All-Star break.
I think so.
Like to what I just said and how they're planning on going about this. But it is interesting, and it will be a definite subject to keep an eye on is how he performs now that he's going to be doing both again and, you know, putting that much exertion on his body. He's going to be outputting a lot of energy. He's going to need some good steaks, everybody. Ohtani was such a force in his first season with the Dodgers when he created the 50-50 club and won his 3rd unanimous MVP award. That anticipation is high to see how good he can be as a fully actualized two-way player once more. In 5 seasons as a pitcher, Ohtani has posted a 3.01 ERA across 86 big league starts. He has a 1.42 ERA plus in that span. So, yeah, you can see 5 years of starting pitching and 86 starts. I mean, that's less than 20 starts a year. That's almost 15 a year. A little more than 15, maybe 17. That's not 30. That's not 34. That's not full time. Even his live sessions drew plenty of attention. His teammates were a rapt audience at all 3 of them, and opposing players were equally curious to catch a glimpse. I mean,
of course,
this is must-see TV. If you have any doubts at all that Shohei Ohtani is the biggest star in MLB and one of the biggest global athletes, go and watch the entourage that follows him around and take it all in and see what it's like, because he's huge and he deserves it. Doing what he's doing is unprecedented in the history of the game. Babe Ruth withstanding, he didn't even do it like Ohtani's trying to do it.
Different times, though.
Definitely. All right, this is the last page here. It says the Dodgers can only imagine how a packed Dodger Stadium will react to finally seeing Ohtani on the mound. I mentioned this, but this is going to be a moment we probably all remember in baseball history. Ohtani's first pitch tonight to Tatis. It's going to be awesome. Quote, I think that for me, I'm still a baseball fan first. I really am, Dave Roberts said. The anticipation here for the game is, man, it's going to be bananas when it happens. There's been a lot of anticipation. I think that it's great for the game. It's good for our team. Our guys are excited about this potential. Most important, excited for Shohei. And me too, Nika. I'm excited for Shohei. You hear it in his quote that he doesn't even feel like he's been able to be himself while he's been wearing the Dodger blue, and yet he's already won a ring with them, and he's already done impossible things on the field, like hit 50-50 last year. So it's amazing, and you see the competitiveness, and you see why he's so great. He's still not satisfied.
Well, we see how it goes today.
I'm not saying it's going to be rainbows and peaches.
No.
It might have some bumps. It might,
of course.
It's
his second time having Tommy John. It will impact your game
100%. And you have to go up against Tatis and Machado, and the Padres are going to want to bring their best out tonight in LA.
I sure hope so, because geez,
at least they've been hitting the ball lately.
That's true. Maybe the tides are changing.
Yeah, we'll see, but it will be high theater going down in the City of Angels in Hollywood, and
City of the Dreams.
We'll see what happens, but I know Dodger fans are excited, and to be honest, they deserve this moment.
Yeah, of course.
And,
it'll be packed.
Hopefully we can rain on their parade a little bit. No offense.
Well, we'll be watching.
Definitely offense, but no offense.
Okay.
All right, well, that's going to wrap up this little segment here, but, we are excited for Shohei. It is Showtime today, not tomorrow, as the slide says. And Nika, I want to ask you before we get out of here, how do you think Shohei's going to do tonight? What do you think the stat line is going to read tomorrow morning?
How many innings he will pitch? Most likely 1 or 2, based on how many pitches he throws. He's not going to go more than 30 pitches. 30 to 40 pitches. They're not going to let him do it.
Yeah, I would agree with you on both accounts. I think he's not going to be able to go more than 30. And I think if he does have a laborious first, if he does have like a 22 to 23 pitch first inning,
he'll be out.
He's going to be done. Yeah, I agree with you.
Because he will have to make an adjustment. After second Tommy John, you do have to make an adjustment if you want to continue pitching.
Well, of course, and it's Monday, and that means even if they have a 6-man rotation, he's probably looking at pitching again next Sunday or Monday then again. And so it's going to come quickly.
Yeah.
And he's going to go 2, and then he'll go 3 and 4. So I'm predicting a 1-inning stat line tonight. If he somehow gets out of the first inning with like 12 pitches, maybe they let him go again.
Maybe. This is more for the fan to show Ohtani.
Yeah. It is psychological warfare on the Padres a little bit. I don't want to let that go unnoticed, because let's not forget how things ended last year at Dodger Stadium with, the Dodgers winning that series and going on to win the World Series. And a lot of people think whoever would have won that
would have been the winner.
And these teams do not like each other. The Padres have fallen a little bit in recent weeks, and they got the Giants now with Devers to contend with as well. The NL West, though, is where it's at, and the Padres are not a bad team. They've been playing really bad for about a month now, and if they even start to fractionally play of what they're worth, capable of. At least Fernando and the Stars, Jackson Merrill, when he's back now, because he's on the IL again with concussion protocol after getting whacked in the face. But
Well, maybe Bogarts can find his bat.
it's just crazy how the NL West is so competitive. It's the place to be. Preller's probably going to make a big trade. The Dodgers are still going to make a trade for more pitching.
No, of course
It's going to
they
get
are.
more nuts over here. You know,
Dodgers need a 3 pitching staff.
they might, but nevertheless, I don't want to lose focus about this moment.
Of course.
And it is a special moment for not just the Dodgers, but for baseball, because Ohtani is a special player and he's worth watching.
Oh, people are going to be glued today.
Absolutely. So enjoy it, everybody. The inning that we're going to get until Sunday,
Till
when you
Sunday.
might get some more.